Hey, Woodrow families. It's me again, Sarah Moore, the counselor. I just wanted to join you guys again and move on to another important topic I feel like needs to be discussed with families. I'm going to talk to you today about internet safety. Hopefully, you've got some coffee with you. I've actually moved on to my water, had too much coffee already. But yeah, I want to talk to you about internet safety. And when I talk about this, also, I'm not just talking about computers, devices, things like that. I also want to touch on, movies, video games, online gaming, shows kids are seeing on Netflix and YouTube and things like that. So just going to kind of touch on a couple of things. So let me go ahead and get my presentation pulled up for you guys. And yeah, let's talk internet safety for a little bit. Okay. All right, so the first thing we want to discuss is how do you even start the conversation, or how do you even talk to your children about internet safety, video games, all the other things that they love to do right now. Try to keep it as positive as you can. You don't want to give off the vibe that they're in any kind of trouble, that they've necessarily done anything wrong. One thing I always like to tell kids is, there's no such thing as a bad kid. There's things called bad choices. And we all make bad choices sometimes, and we all make mistakes. And so that's how, kind of a way of trying to keep it positive, and not let them feel too defeated by things that they've maybe chosen or done. And just to focus on the now, not so much the past. Focus on what's going on right now. So one thing you could really do is just start with asking your child, say, well, what do you think about the internet? Or what do you know about the internet? And, is it a safe place? A lot of your students have probably, or sorry, kids have talked about this in their classrooms even, because we work on computers too as well. And we have safety guidelines that we have to follow as teachers, first of all, but also as students. And the conversation can be about the benefits of internet safety, the benefits of online gaming, the benefits of being careful about the things that you watch, movies, TV shows, anything like that. And even just opening it up to them to say, what do you think the rules should be, or what kind of guidelines should we follow? And that's going to be something that should just be a very casual conversation with your child. And also reminding them that being on the internet or having these gaming systems, these devices, that's a privilege, okay? And that's something that they have and that they can enjoy with their friends. And when people are not being safe on the internet or on these online programs, it's not enjoyable. And it's not enjoyable for everyone necessarily. And you want to talk to them about how the internet is a place, and how just like any other place, really. I mean, compare it to being a place like the grocery store, something like that, okay? And that everyone on the internet or on these gaming systems, these programs, they have a right to feel comfortable, and they have a right to feel safe. Now, it's also important to be clear about what is okay and what isn't okay. And if you're leaving a little bit of a gray area for them, where they're like, maybe I could do this, I'm not quite sure, it's kind of leaving open that possibility of not really knowing what's the right choice here, what's the wrong choice here. And that's just going to help you and your child feel confident, and that they do have the tools they need to interact online. Okay, so no gray areas. Some tips for kids. Okay, so there's a very cool little acronym that we use here. And you guys, parents, probably know this and have heard this over and over again. I can't tell you how important it is to stress to your children that you cannot give out personal information. And I won't go into all the scary and troublesome stories that I've heard. I'm sure that some of you have heard them yourselves. But this acronym is really good. It's YAPI. Okay, so you're not going to give out your full name, your address, any passwords, any phone numbers, or your plans. And I think as grown-ups, we need to remember that too. I mean, it's just the world that we live in right now. So remember, stress to them, Yappy. Your full name is not given, your address is not given, your password, your phone number, your plans. Those are never discussed online, okay? And if they think maybe they're in a situation where they might be able to share these things, I would stress that they should really double check with you to make sure that it's safe. So that way you have time to check into it before they do anything, before they give out any kind of information. You also want to talk to your child about interacting with strangers. So just like in person, interactions with strangers, they should be online, they should be limited. And we should not share any of our personal information as well, just like we don't when we meet a stranger in a store, okay? And also remind your child never to meet anyone in person that they know from the internet, especially by themselves. Now, if they've met someone they know from the internet, or they want to meet somebody that they know from the internet, that we just remind them they need to tell you, and that if you think it's safe, you and your child can go together. I don't know that I would ever let them go by myself and go without knowing some of the details. The most important thing is for your child to remember that to tell an adult if they see anything that makes them feel unsafe or comfortable. If they're online, if they're playing a video game, if they see something, they're watching something, and they start to feel uncomfortable, they need to tell somebody immediately. This is just a great time to help your child identify who they can talk to in different scenarios, okay? And, you know, who are those people that they can talk to, and who are those people that they can tell quickly when they feel uncomfortable. All right. Next, setting and enforcing the expectations. So you're going to collaborate with your child. You're going to work with your child on this whole idea of internet safety, gaming safety, TV and movie safety, really. When you're developing a plan for any kinds of things like that, always consider your child's input. They're going to have more value in it if they have a role in it. I found that if I just say, okay, you're going to do this, 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 and this, you know, kids aren't always comfortable with that. But if you say, okay, well, what about this? How would you handle this? If you give them some kind of input, or allow some kind of input or value, it's going to be much more meaningful to them. Okay. You are the parent, and ultimately you are the one to set and enforce those expectations, but getting input from your child, it can help them to feel valued in the process. And that's what you want to do, is you want them to have some value in it. And so a great way to do this is you could create a technology plan or a contract of some kind that you both contribute to. And I do have one I could share with you if you're interested, and one that you could, I mean, you could use it word for word, or you could use it as kind of a template, and maybe be one that you change up a little. We have contracts, we have things we have to do with that at school, where we have to sign off on things saying that we won't break any rules, that we're going to follow the expectations, and we know that those are enforced as well. Okay. A lot of parents will ask how they can monitor their child's technology usage. And I totally get that. And there's not really a clear answer to that, though. I mean, there's different things out there that you could have installed or that you can use. And I know there's a lot of parental locks or parental controls on things, but still, somehow, some way, people find out how to break those or get through those. And it's very frustrating. Okay. It really kind of can depend on the child's age and their maturity level, and what kind of technology they're using even. And the important thing, though, is to be very clear with your child about the fact that you are the parent and that you have the right to monitor what they are doing online. Okay. And when you're talking about these expectations for the use, it's important to involve your child again. Okay, make sure they have a say in it. They understand what it is you're talking about. And ask your child if he or she thinks the consequences for what the consequences for the usage should be. You know, if they break something, one of the expectations, what kind of consequence should be involved there. And when you give them those expectations ahead of time, um, it's going to allow for fewer arguments, hopefully, and misunderstandings when something does happen. And another thing before I move on to my final topic here or thing I want to discuss, it's important to keep an open dialogue with your child about technology and check in frequently to see how your child is doing and if they have any questions. I know this can be a very scary thing because there's a lot of unknowns out there for all of us. And it's scary to talk about even sometimes. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this and consider some of the ideas and suggestions. One last thing that I really kind of want to talk about that's not necessarily totally internet safety is I recently read an article online and I got it from verywellfamily.com. And there was a study done with like 3,000 children, and they were the ages of third, fourth, seventh, eighth graders, 3,000 students. And the study lasted for 3 years. And what they noticed through the study is that over time, kids that were playing video games that were aggressive or maybe had some violence in them, it caused these kids or those kids to think more aggressively and behave more aggressively. I am a little bit surprised when I hear about some of the things students watch or some of the things that students play. It concerns me a little bit. And I feel like nowadays that might explain some of the more aggressive behaviors that we see. I'm not saying that that's where it's all coming from or anything like that. I'm just saying it's something interesting to think about and something to talk about. So when they're playing these things, the kids, they think or they say or they might do something aggressive or unkind when they're at school, it carries over. So if they're, maybe bumped in the hallway or somebody accidentally trips them or all these accidental things that can happen, these kids typically reacted in a more aggressive way, whether that be by something they thought, something they said, or even something they did. And that was these, 3,000 students that they watched for three years. And if you think about video games too, I mean, I grew up on a Sega or the old gray Nintendo box. And we played those games a lot over and over because you're always trying to get to the next level, beat this level, beat that level, find out all the secret codes and the tricks. And so we were playing over and over again. I mean, it was like a repetitive thing. And it kind of puts up that thing of you're practicing all the time. And again, if you think about it that way, these kids are being in the environment of practicing and seeing and learning over and over and over again these aggressive behaviors. And so that can, carry over into the classroom setting. And, like I said, it's not just video games, it's TV shows and it's movies. And so I just ask that you please be involved really in what they play and what they see, and limit the exposure to the things that they play or to the things that they see. Some of these kids get addicted to video games. And I know that sounds really crazy, but it's a real thing. And I've seen it affect some students. It's kind of like they live in this fantasy world and their brains are not fully developed. I mean, really, they aren't. And they can't figure out that this is a gaming world. It's not real life. And so for them to separate the two, they really can't do that. And we as adults can, but these children, they can't. So some are getting exposed to things, just in my personal opinion, a little bit too early, They may watch some things that are scary. And it keeps them up at night. And they come to school and they're sleepy and they're tired and they're grumpy. I always tell them I don't watch scary things because it affects my sleep and it affects the way I feel about things and my thoughts. And so we just have to be very careful about that when we have students or when we have children involved. I'm not saying, cut everything out, don't play games. No, not at all. Not at all. I'm just saying, be more watchful, be more careful, and monitor a little bit more closely. I know one of the hot things out there right now is this Squid Games or something on Netflix. And obviously I've not watched it, but I researched it a little and I don't know if you've done that yet, but you might want to look into that because it was interesting. It's a little bit scary. We've had kids playing there's 6 games and we've had kids playing them out on the playground. And the thing that's scary about that is that they play these games and they're not even real life. And there's some violence in there and some aggressive behavior. And I know some of our kids are watching it or being exposed to it. So, please ask that you just be careful and let me know if I can help anyway. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to try at least. So thanks for your time. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, depending on when you're watching this. Happy Thanksgiving too, if I haven't said that to you yet. And enjoy the rest of your day, guys. And I'll see you soon.